Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevamatma buddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamshirshibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavaraitaha Prajnanaghanaha Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Om Vedantartha Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Sannyasine Nanavadi Nagendra Sanghapavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohadvanta Divakaraya Bhagavat Padabhidham Bibhrate Tasmai Bhashakrite Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane. At this outset of this class, let me wish you a very happy Janmashtami, which actually was celebrated last night. And because Bhagavan Shri Krishna's birth is what happens at the stroke of midnight, 12 o'clock. So it was celebrated over here in ashram as well, though we were just few people of the ashram. There are different calendars and some different systems of calculation which our astrologers of the past have used, and therefore there is bound to be some differentiation or some differences when it comes to determining which date and which celebration can take place on which date. So some calendars, the smartas that follow, said that the Janmashtami was last night, and some other calendars which are followed by people say it is today, which is a day later. Nevertheless, any day or any moment that brings you close to Paramatma, any moment, any event, anything that can soak the heart in devotion, in love for the Lord, is a pious moment of your life. The real wealth of a devotee is he keeps gathering more and more of these moments to fill his life. to fill his life. Just as any person who would gather every cent, every rupee, every small little amount to fill his coffer, and that is how he enriches himself. Like that, a devotee fills his day, his hour, months and life by gathering more and more number of these moments of staying soaked in devotion, getting drenched in love for God. Therefore, though the calculations may differ and there could be different days, I say more the merrier. Why only have one day of Shri Krishna's celebrations? We have 2 days. Every day is equally pious. Besides that, Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself says, Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san. Though I am ajaha, ajanma, aja means ajanma, birthless, uncreated, unborn, timeless, yet I happen to appear in time. And therefore there is, this appearance has a time frame, whatever it may be. It simply means that the timeless principle itself appears, though is present in every moment of the time, every particle of the time, yet becomes significantly visible, comprehensible, and that is why it is to be celebrated. It is as simple as this. The pot has a birth, the pot has a death. Pot is a name and form. The clay is not born when the pot is born. The clay does not perish when the pot is broken. And therefore, from the standpoint of the pot, the clay does not have birth and does not have death. From the standpoint of the pot, clay is free from birth and death. Yet this clay itself becomes visible, becomes available to you as the pot. In birth, in death, though that which is beyond birth and death appears in birth and death, though that which is beyond time and space appears in time and space, that which is free from name and form and every attribute now can be said with, to be with attributes, can be said to be with a name and a form. And this most enchanting phenomena is that of the supreme consciousness, which is shining as all these names and forms around you. But in order for you to arrive at that, one name and form becomes significant. And that significant name and form then to the devotee is Shri Krishna, Shri Ram. Let your mind be soaked in love for this, for Ram, for Shri Krishna, for Shiva, for Durga. Name and form can be anything. Whatever the Shastras have prescribed as the names and forms in which Paramatma should be propitiated, should be sought, seek that. And therefore, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamate. Hey Mudhamate. Mudhamate means the one whose mind is blinded, is deluded, is mesmerized. And is not it true that our minds are mesmerized? Our minds are conditioned. No matter how much we may, the Shastras may scream loudly that the objects are not the source of happiness. They may become an excuse for the happiness to express, but they are not the vessels of happiness. They are empty because they are just dreams. And yet we, like fools, keep on chasing objects, keep on chasing people, relations, saying that these are the sources of happiness. And if you have to be mesmerized, if you have to be hypnotized by a name and form, because so conditioned to say a name and form is the cause of happiness, is a vessel of happiness, then might as well say Shri Krishna is that name and that form in which all my happiness is invested. Shri Rama is that name and that form in which all my happiness is invested. Rest, that is my investment, and the rest is just a waste. That is where I invest, the rest is all waste. There was one great Indian saint, Ananda Mahima. This lady saint always said, Hari Katha hi Katha aur sab vyatha. Something that is worth listening to, something that is worth singing and talking about is only Hari. Katha means the story. A story will be told by someone, a story will be heard by someone, a story will be sung by someone. That which is worth singing, telling, listening to is only about Hari. Hari Katha hi Katha. Baki sab vyatha, rest of it is only vyatha, is only nothing but a saga of suffering. Nothing else. The rest all is only a torture. Hari Katha hi Katha or Baki sab vyatha. This Bhagavan Shri Hari, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, now who is the supreme joy not only of Devaki and Yashoda, he is the supreme joy of every devotee. Because in Devaki, in Yashoda, in Nanda, in Vasudeva, they are the representation of every devotee. Because their bosom, their every cell of the body is filled with love for Shri Krishna. There is no space for anyone, anything, even to hate anyone. Shri Krishna fills their every atom, leaves no space empty, totally saturated. A devotee has no space, no time, no energy even to hate anyone or anything, because for him, his every space of the heart, of the mind, of the thought is meant only for Shri Krishna to occupy. As long as there is someone else or something else to occupy the thought, to occupy the space of the heart, till then the devotion has not reached saturation. Nanda Baba, Yashoda, Devaki, Vasudeva, these all represent, every gopi is representation of what devotion should be, what love should be. Everything is occupied only by Shri Krishna, 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 Krishna. There is a very interesting story. Though this is not related to Shri Krishna, yes, there is one. And listen to this. I just happened to remember this. Today being, the post-Janmashtami day, which is also a celebration called as the Gopalakala, when people hung those clay pots high up in the air, filled with butter and curd, and boys from the town and your lanes gather on the streets, and they make pyramids climbing on each other. And the one on the top is the most light, maybe just a small boy. And he carries that flute in the hand, the bamboo stick, and he goes and he breaks that clay pot, and all that curd and water and fruits and grapes and the butter, it falls on the people down below. And then if it is broken by the pyramid, then there is a big tumultuous roar of joy in the people. So many times they make the pyramid, but they are not able to reach up, and they all come down. And it is a great game in, especially in Western India, which is the Maharashtra, etc. This is the day when they do it. As it is raining now here, it rains and people are wet. Their skins are slippery and the clothes are also slippery. And then those pyramids and those boys, they keep on climbing, and people from all around, they also throw buckets of water. And that is the game, preventing them from reaching up on the top. And they with their, and then it is sung in those streets, Govinda, Gopala, Govinda, Gopala, Yashode Chaitanya Bala, meaning son of Yashoda, little boy of Yashoda climbs up to break the pot. There was one devotee in the same part of India, Maharashtra, close to Pandharpur, devotee of the Lord. And Shri Krishna fondly is called over there in that part as Vitthal or Panduranga. And he was a pot maker. He would bring the clay from the river bank and make pots, bake the bricks for the villagers to purchase and take and make their homes, houses. And he would also take those bricks and make their walls. On one such occasion, it so happened that there was a big wall being constructed. And the wall could not get completed during the summer season. Monsoon arrived, but the work of that wall had to be continued. All the masons and pot makers of that village and villages nearby were employed to make that wall. So also this pot maker, his name was Gora Kumbhar. Kumbhar means a pot maker. He was called as Gora. Maybe he was fair in complexion. That's why his parents must have named him Gora. So he was also amongst those workers constructing the wall. The rains arrived, and heavy rain. People were forced to keep on working. They were told that the wall may collapse if the rains continue. But he whosoever had commissioned the wall to be made forcefully made those people work. Gora Kumbhar was a devotee, singing the Lord's name, his heart filled with devotion, as if every atom of his body was reverberating only with Shri Krishna, only with Vitthala, 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 Vitthala. And that what had to happen happened. The calamity came and the wall collapsed. Several people died getting crushed under the wall. All those workers died. And by the time the bricks were lifted, people had died, their bodies were crushed, so badly crushed that it was not even possible to recognize who is who. Gora Kumbhar also died in that. It was difficult to know whose body is who is. And so the relatives did not know how to cremate, because in Indian systems, the son will cremate the father. But which son is to know which body is his father's body? Another saint at that time was also passing through, and he heard this. And he said, it is easy to find Gora Kumbhar's body. He goes over there. All the bodies were scattered, the bones scattered here and there. He goes and he says, I will find out which is Gora Kumbhar's. Every part I will give you for cremation. And he takes those bones and puts it to the ear. And he said, the bones or those parts which will speak to you, Vitthala, 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 is Gora Kumbhar's body, definitely. So people did find that whole body, all the parts, and his son was able to cremate it. Every part, every atom of the body is reverberating only with Krishna's name. For a devotee, there is no other option This is not his option. He is helpless. He says, what can I do but only love Krishna? There goes another story. One gopi one day was found to be meditating under a tree near the Yamuna bank. Sage Narada was amused that there is a gopi, and this gopi, this cowherd woman, she is meditating. He goes to her and says, what are you doing, gopi? And she says, I'm trying to attain samadhi. Says, what is this? Why would you want to have this mind of samadhi? And she says, what to do? I cannot do any work, cannot do anything, because every moment, every thought is occupied by Shri Krishna. And I want him to get out so that at least there is something that I can do. Every thought is filled with Krishna, 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 Krishna. Well then, this is why I said that any moment and every moment that becomes available to you to fill your life with these moments of getting drenched in love for Krishna, in love for Ram, in love for Shiva, Durga, any name, any form that the Shastra prescribes, let it be there. We consider that to be the most auspicious moment of your life. So here to you all, a very happy Janmashtami. Let us come to Bhagavad Gita. Singing the Lord's song is one thing, and singing the song that the Lord has sung is yet another thing. You are singing the Lord's song so that you could come to him. And you are singing the song sung by the Lord so that you can be one with him. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Shri Bhagavan spoke. He said, Lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam asmin loke dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya he anagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Otherwise, you can reconstruct the sentence as He Anagha Asmin Loke Dvividha Nishtha Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam Maya Pura Prokta. Okay. Ever since the dawn of humanity, ever since there has been human existence, the human beings have recognized something about himself and something about this world. He has always found that there is a purpose to his life. What is that purpose which drives you into the actions that you are doing? Because that very purpose, that very driving force is your nishtha. The word nishtha over here just does not mean your conviction. Because the word nishtha, if has to be explained etymologically, it would mean Nitaram sthitihi nishtha. Your state of existence, sthiti. What is it that you are existing for? What is the purpose of your life? What is it that you are striving for? Because struggle is seen in everyone's life. Then if you are striving for something, if you are struggling for something, our question is, what is it that you are struggling for? Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, and this has been there since the very beginning of human existence. Pura prokta maya anagha. He anagha. Anagha meaning he is addressing Arjuna as Anagha. Anagha is not Arjuna's name. Anagha means, O sinless one. Anagha. Hey Arjuna, Asmin Loke. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Asmin Loke means Shastra Anusthana Adhikritana. Now those people who want to lead their life according to the standards set by the Shastra, by the Vedas. So people, human beings since the very earliest, since the very beginning, meaning ever since the human being has come into existence, whatever that moment is where a person recognized himself to be a human being, not an amoeba, unicellular or multicellular or anything, but as a human being. Ever since the dawn of human consciousness, the person has been, every person is struggling and striving for something. Then, as I have told you even before, generally a person is striving for security, wealth, pleasures, or even continuity of his lineage of the DNA. Or he may be looking forward for even just well-being here and hereafter. And there is yet another one who now has observed the shortfalls of even sitting on a heap of wealth, the shortfalls of even having progeny, children, property, popularity, or even respect and recognition in the society. You may have all these things, and all these things may have come to you even through righteous means, because people become popular even by becoming well-known criminals. People can even amass wealth even through unrighteous means. And don't ask me about how it happens, because if you if you have observed this world and seen the hideous crimes that people have committed only for the sake of money and power and recognition, it is so obnoxious. Well then, friends, we are not talking even about those people. Keep them apart. These are not the people who can be even ever idealized. They cannot serve as your ideals in life. They can't be your inspirations. You cannot draw any light from them. We are talking about those people who have earned all this through righteous ways. And yet, the wealth, the progeny, the popularity, the power, the recognition, the respect that they may have, everything is so frail and so fragile. That somebody like Alexander at the last moment had to say that I brought nothing into the world and I go without anything. And that's why he requested his body to be buried naked, because that is what he wanted to declare. He said, I came naked and I'm going naked. People may call me as Eka Chhatra Samrat of this world. Yet, I'm nothing. I go back empty. I arrived empty. I go back empty. But I say, congratulations, Alexander, that even at that last moment you realized that yes, all these achievements, your success and your glory and your victories are just zero, so empty, so hollow, so false, because people do not realize that. For people, these are the things which they think will bring them everlasting peace and joy. But silly, and this is what I say, is more hypnotized by all these idiosyncrasies, hypnotized by it. How we demand that people respect us. And we go to any extent of compromising with dharma just in order to be respected. But what is respected is also dharma. Don't forget that ever. This is a mistake which Karna does. And he so hypnotized by all these silly things. Nevertheless, even if you are, there is a great hope for you, even in this dark moor, in this kind of a hypnosis, mesmerized, in this kind of, under the spell of this Lokeshana, Vitteshana, Putreshana. And that is, do not ever forget what is dharma. Do not ever forget what is dharma. And that is the reason why Sri Rama, though his father says, Rama, it does not matter even if you break the promise. Don't bother about me. don't you ever leave Ayodhya and go. At that moment, Rama tells his father, Father, a word that is given, now let us keep the truth alive, because that is the way even our forefathers have lived. It may be difficult, yet let us follow it. 14 years of my living in the exile are difficult, but let us live it up. Let us not give up the dharma. At any moment. And that is the reason why even Rama, Dashratha, and everybody from the Raghuvamsha, from that lineage, is an ideal. So here what I have to say is that though we may be clouded, our minds may be clouded, stormed by various desires for wealth and progeny and pleasures and popularity and whatnot, yet let us not forget what is dharma. Bhagavan Shri Krishna over here says this is the sthiti. There are two types of people. One are those people for whom now all these things are important, but they are willing to follow the path of dharma in order to achieve all these things. They are not going to resort to unrighteous means by saying that the wealth that comes through unrighteousness, the blood wealth, the progeny which has pleasures or anything, power and reputation, whatever it may be. Let the dharma be followed. So those people who are willing to follow the path of dharma. So the rest of the people we are not going to talk about till the point that they realize and they arrive over here. So these are one type of people for whom now path of action is important, because action, karma, is the means to deliver all this. And there is another type of people who have understood the fragility, the frailness of all these achievements. And therefore, these are the people who want nothing else but Paramatma. These are the people who want to know Brahman. For them, knowing Brahman alone is what they want. Therefore, for them is the path of knowledge. And for the people who are still wanting to have the achievements of this world is the path of action. And path of action as shown by the Shastra, path of knowledge as shown by the Vedas, by the Shastra alone. And therefore, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Shastra Anusthana Vikritanam Dvividha Nishtha Prokta. Remember, Asmin Loke, translate that whole thing into Shastra Anusthana Adhikritana. For those who are willing to follow the path of scripture, even which means the path of dharma, the path of action, righteous action, and the path of knowledge. The path of knowledge is meant for those who have risen above all these desires, for whom all these achievements really have become insignificant, meaningless. And you cannot pretend that they are meaningless even to you. More you pretend, you may be able to convince others. One may be able to convince others. But self-deception is not going to happen. You still will be chasing that. And when you are going to do that, sooner or later, the mask that one is wearing of mithyachar will crack open. And then something that is very ugly will be seen. And that is why people who want to project themselves as righteous are so careful about their own reputation. Very careful about their reputation. Whether they are righteous or not, they want others to call them as very righteous, as very good, as very respectable. Lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya nagha. Hence, there are these two types of people. People who are in this world and following the path of action, and people who want to follow the path of knowledge. People who are going to follow the path of knowledge are sannyasis who have renounced the karma. Don't say sannyasis are people who have renounced pleasures and things like that. That is so silly and so childish. There are people who have renounced action, because action is the only means by which one is going to achieve progeny, wealth, popularity, all well-being, all these things. It is action which is going to deliver all these things. But for a person where all these things have become insignificant and only one significant thing remains in their life, and that is wanting to know Paramatma, or those who have already known Paramatma. For them, the path of action has got no significance. Action has got no meaning as means. When it does not have any meaning, the action will be given up. And this giving up of the action is called as renunciation, sannyasa, karma sannyasa. Sannyasa is not simply just some sort of a lifestyle of a recluse, of a hermit, of somebody who is afraid of social interactions. No, sir. Sannyasa is meant for those for whom karma and the karma phalam, meaning all these three things, putra, vitta, loka, has become insignificant, has got no meaning. For them, then there is sannyas. Otherwise, people think sannyasis are people who are running orphanages and who should be running schools and who should be running an ashram. Oh, no, this is not at all the idea of the Shastras. Do not give your corrupt understanding, allow your one's corrupt understanding to give meaning to these words. These are the words coined by the Shastras, and let the Shastra alone define it. That's why there were some teachers who said, well, we are going to call neo-sannyas. What's neo-sannyas? Sannyas is sannyas. What's neo-sannyas? They had to say neo because they wanted to give their own new idea. And that new idea is nothing but just simply taking concessions, giving justifications, a spiritual justification for everything that is wrong, a seemingly spiritual justification. That's why they had to coin all these names. Otherwise, what's wrong in sannyas? Why do you have to make it neo-sannyas? This is ridiculous. What's neo-sannyas? Karma sannyasa is the thing. Sannyasa means the one who has given up the karma. And what does he then now follow? He follows the path of knowledge. And therefore, Sri Krishna says there are two types of people who are living by the scriptural standards. One are the people who are karmis, and the other one is the jnani, the one who is on the path of knowledge. Sankhyanam, Sankhya over here means jnani. Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. But mind you, now he is also going to say that the karma yogi, the path of karma, path of action is meant for the yogi. Meaning the one who is willing to transform the action into a means, not only for gaining putra vitta loka, but for gaining a psychological inner transformation too, turning the karma into karma yoga. And unless and until the karma turns into yoga, you cannot be, the karmi cannot be called as a yogi. So Shri Krishna is talking about karma yogena yoginam. So there are these two nishthas. Nishtha is the state of existence where a person, even the smallest of small action, is able to declare what is his real purpose. Even he may be seen to have taken a little diversion, yet the diversion is meant so that he can turn his car again in opposite direction and start running. So anushtheya tatparyam, sthiti means, those who are taking down the notes, kindly write it down. Sthiti, instead of calling it nitaram, that's nishtha as nitaram sthiti, Bhagwan Bhashyakara calls it as anushtheya tatparyam. Nishtha is sthiti, the state of existence, but he further explains it as anushtheya tatparyam. Why is he doing what he is doing? He may be seemingly doing exactly what others are doing, but why he is doing will be different. A karmi may be also running to the office every day morning and coming back home late in the evening. A yogi is also seen running to the office every day morning, coming back tired and sweaty every day evening. Both of them are doing exactly the same thing. He is working, the other one is also working. What he is doing and why he is doing what he is doing, but why he is doing is different. The first one is doing so that he can make money. The second one is doing because he says that any which ways it will bring me money, but I am doing it because this is my duty, and doing my duty is the way that I can worship Paramatma. Why he is doing has become different. The first one is doing simply because he sees this is the source, this is the means of making money. Karma is the means of making money. The second one sees it as an opportunity to serve Parameshwara. That is his duty. He calls, well, that is my duty. But if it is my duty, and by performing my duty, the Lord is pleased worshipped, and this is my way to worship Parameshwara. Why he is doing what he is doing is different. And therefore, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says that yes, Nishtha means sthiti, his state of existence, but that state of existence he explains as Anushtheya Tatparyam. So let that be the word that you can speak. So ever since the humanity or human being has come into existence, there has been one human being who is striving in this world to gain something from the world, and the other one is striving, or he is living so that he attains Parameshwara. He knows the very reality of existence. There is this difference. So there are these two people, Arjuna. The one who is wanting to know is the one who has given up the path of action, and therefore he is a sannyasi. And the one who wants something from the world, or maybe he is on the path of action, but he is doing it because he sees this as an opportunity to worship, and that's why he is a yogi. So for the yogi, there is path of action, and for the jnani, there is path of the for the jnani, there is the path of renunciation of action. So there is the path of renunciation and path of action. These are the two paths since the very dawn of humanity. And who and why has one, why human beings are like this? Let us see this part, which is the second half of the verse when we meet next. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om. Thank you all. Thank you very much.